And so we've just returned from the field. We have our 2 jars, our rock sample and our invertebrate samples, and don't mix them up. So we'll do one at a time. So we'll put our rock sample aside and come back to that later. What we need to do is to remove our bugs from the ethanol. You'll find that if you are leaning over a dish of ethanol for more than a couple of hours, you will start seeing green men. So it's best to put your bugs into water before you analyse them and look under the microscope. So we're going to do that. We're going to put our sample through the sieve, like so. But we want to use this ethanol again. So as we come around here, as I pour this through the sieve, I'll keep that ethanol and I'll put that to the side. I'm going to wash out my jar to make sure I get all the bugs out. And wash down the sides of the sample so it's all in the bottom. And then I'm going to transfer this into a petri dish with the assistance of the squirty bottle to make sure I get all those bugs into the petri dish. So I need to check the sieve that there's nothing left behind. And now I'm ready to go and look at that under the microscope. But before I do, I'm going to take my empty jar and pour my ethanol back in there, because I'm going to use that again in a minute. So I now have my bugs all sitting in my petri dish with water and not ethanol. I haven't mixed together my rocks and my kick sample. No, we don't do that. That would be bad. So I'll make my way over to the microscope.
Check out that lab coat.
Thank you, my kind assistant. And first thing is to make sure I'm comfortable in my chair. I can adjust the seat and make sure I'm comfortable, that it's ergonomically correct as part of the WHS use of microscopes. Turn the power on, and the first thing I can do in looking through the microscope is I want to get to the point where I can identify all the bugs that I have in my sample. So the first thing is to separate them into morpho groups. So put them in groups of things that you think are the same, and separate them around your petri dish with forceps. Once you've separated them into their morpho groups, you can start working to identify them. You will need your lab book, because you will need to write down how many of each thing you have and what they are, so you need to identify and count them. And we'll identify to the family level. As I count and I identify my bugs, I'm going to put them back in the ethanol. So at the end of the day, at the end of the class, all your animals should be back into ethanol. Even if you don't get through to finish the whole sample, please put everything back into the ethanol, and we'll pick up where we left off last week. So you can use the water bug book, and there are copies available in the lab today, or there is another useful resource, a bunch of useful resources on iLearn. Under Prac Resources, particularly useful is the Freshwater Bug Key by the Murray-Darling Freshwater Research Centre. This is it here, and you can work through this, identify your bug, and it will take you through steps to identify each of your critters. So you want to identify them all to family level where possible. Oligochaetes, we just call oligochaetes. Mites, we just call Acarina. But most of the other groups you should be able to identify to family level. And for chironomids, Chironomidae, which is a Diptera family, you should aim to identify them to subfamily level, and that should be possible with the keys you have. So work through, identify all your animals in your Petri dish, write them down in your lab book, the name and the count. Once you've done that for your kick sample, go and do exactly the same process for your rock sample. Keep those two data sets separate. Once I have finished analysing my samples, it's a good idea to get one of the tutors to have a look at what's on my list and to see that you don't have anything particularly bizarre. The next step is to enter your data for the class to use. So if we go look under assessments on iLearn, there is a link to the invertebrate data entry. If you click on that, it takes you to a Google Docs and you can enter your data here. So you can first of all enter your name, your site group, which is which task you did on the first day, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, the site where your sample was collected from, whether it's kick or rock. If it's a rock sample, you need to enter your rock size. I'll get to that in a moment. And you also need to enter your chlorophyll A density that you calculated from the spectrophotometer readings. You need to enter the collection date, and then listed below are each of the common bug groups you might find. And so you can simply enter there the number of those particular animals that you have found. If you find a bug that is not on this list, please check with one of the tutors because this is most of the common bugs, and you may have found either a new species or something that doesn't occur here, in which case you might need to re-identify your animal. If you do find something that's not on the list, scroll down the bottom and enter it down the bottom as other, and you add the name, elephant, and the number you found. And when I come to processing the data, I'll correct for that and add that to the list. Here I have my my foil sample that I collected from wrapping up my rock, and I need to take my foil out and I need to measure that, I need to weigh that on the balance. And also on iLearn there is a rock area calculator which will open up an Excel spreadsheet, and it allows you to enter the mass of foil into the mass of foil here, so whether it was 5 grams, and from that it will calculate the area in centimetres square. You enter this number, this area number, into the Google Docs where it says rock size. This is for rock samples only. If you have a kick sample that you're entering the data for, then just enter 0 as the instructions say. Same goes for chlorophyll, just enter a 0 for the chlorophyll density. And when you go to submit, once you've entered all your data and you go to submit, it will ask you or tell you you have missed some important data. If you make a mistake, re-enter your data correctly, and I will work it out from the times. I'll assume that the second entry is the correct one, and I'll be able to delete the incorrect entry if you've made one. So that's about it. Do this for your kick sample and then repeat it for the rock sample. And once you've done that, if you don't get it finished today or in the prac session, we need to have this all finished by the end of the on-campus session coming up week after next, or next week. So thanks very much. Thanks for listening. You've been a great audience, and enjoy your day bug processing.